Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wonderful viewers, you are welcome to another edition of your favorite program, The Review Digest. This is where we slightly delve into the monthly magazine edition or the monthly edition of the Review of Religions magazine. Today, inshallah, on the program, we will be discussing the September 2024 edition of the Review of Religions magazine, and that captures the topic Hoping for World Peace. His Holiness, may Allah be his helper on world peace, climate change, women's education, and advice for today's teenagers. This is very, very important. And inshallah, we will be slightly delving into this edition. And in the studio, dear viewers, we have the honor to have with us in the studio Maulana Bashiruddin Mahmoud Ahmed Saab. Maulana Saab, you're welcome to the program.
Jazakumullah. Thank you.
It is a privilege to have you here with us today. Well, viewers, before we start with our conversation in the studio, we will go in and take a listen of an excerpt from the writings of the promised Messiah والسلام, on the topic worship as a formality. Join us as we go and then take a listen.
Worship as a formality. Some people go to the mosques to offer their prayers and observe other fundamental principles of Islam. Yet Allah's support and succor does not accompany them. There is no palpable change in their morals and habits. This shows that they are following a routine of rituals. There is no substance in them because compliance with Allah's commandments is like sowing a seed. It influences both the body and the soul. After watering and sowing with meticulous hard work, if nothing sprouts after a few weeks, then one has to admit that the seed was bad. A similar concept applies to the worship of Allah. If a person believes in the oneness of God, performs salat, observes the fasts, and seemingly follows the commandments of God, but no exclusive help from God Almighty is bestowed upon him, then one must admit that the seed he is sowing is itself bad. It was through these prayers that many became saints and spiritual guidance stars. For you, despite offering the same prayers, no impact is evident. It is a basic principle that when you use a medicine yet do not feel any improvement from it, you would have to admit that the medicine was not effective. The same is the case for salat. Barkariman karha dushwar neest. Nothing is difficult for the brave.
Welcome back to the studio, dear viewers. We just listened to a very wonderful excerpt from the writings of the promised Messiah والسلام, on worship. I mean, it was very, very important that we have such, advices from the promised Messiah والسلام. Well, Hafiz, Maulana Bashiruddin Mahmoud Ahmed. We will start with our conversation here in the studio, and we start with Rays of Wisdom for the Modern World, a very important segment of the magazine that usually questions that are asked to beloved Huzurs, answers that are provided. The Review of Religions magazine actually captures some of these question and answer section segments and then put them in the edition. So we'll start with the very first question, and the question that was asked to His Holiness was, how can we protect children from the ills of social media? What we have? Oh,
Yeah.
Huzur's advice.
Jazakumullah Hasanal Jaza. So, in answer to this question, Huzur Raidullah Ta'ala bin Ashil Aziz rightly mentioned that this protection can be done gradually. It's something which can be done step by step.
Okay.
And also we should make sure that we wouldn't be giving our children, the tablets, the phones for them to use anytime. Rather, we should explain to them the usage of social media, the usage of these IT tools and all that. And at the same time, when we give them the chance to surf the internet, we should also keep an eye on them.
Okay.
We should also see as to what they are using it for.
Right.
They not engaging in any vulgar program or anything that goes contrary to the teachings of Islam. And also there should be time limits for such programs or for the usage of the internet or these IT tools, because giving them a specific time would limit their access to these things and not giving them on regular basis. And also we should explain to them lovingly. Sometimes we become rigid because we want to tell them that these things are not that good for them. So we become rigid. Huzur is telling us that we should lovingly explain to them
Okay.
how these social media negatively affects our being, our being as humans and also as Muslims. When they get to know of these things, that is when they would tend to stay away from all those negative impacts of the social media. And also, most importantly, also says that we should pray for our children so that they stay healthy, or they stay away from the harm of these social media. So that was, in brief, that is what Huzur gave in answer to this question.
That is very, very important. Jazakumullah Mawisa for that wonderful explanation. I mean, the guidance of His Holiness is always an eye-opener for all of us. Well, Mawisa, it is very, very interesting that Jamaat members do not only get to ask, such questions, but they also get the opportunity to ask, historical questions as well, the blessings of Khilafat. Well, someone actually asked beloved Huzur that when Moses alayhi salatu wasalam and Aaron alayhi salatu wasalam were all brothers. That is a question.
Yeah, that is a good one. And Huzur also graciously gave the answer to this question that Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Harun, Moses and Aaron, when we check the Bible in Exodus, we get to know that they were true brothers, because from the Bible in Exodus, we get to see that it is written, Amram married Jochebed, his father's sister, and she bore him Aaron and Moses. This to tell us that Moses and Aaron were both from one mother and also one father. This makes them brothers. And also it was this same Aaron and Moses, alayhi salam, who were sent to go and talk to Pharaoh so that he will free the children of Israel to them, so that they would go with them to the promised land. And they, again, Moses and Aaron, were those who spoke to Pharaoh when they went to meet him concerning the same children of Israel that Allah Almighty has given them the freedom, or Allah Almighty says that Pharaoh should set them free so that they will go with them. So this can be, the references given was from Exodus chapter 6, verse 20 throughout to 27. So this is something that they can also, everyone can check.
MashaAllah. So in brief, Aaron and then Moses were brothers. Okay, Mobisab, so back to the main, the main topic. This edition was a special interview. Someone had, that special chance to meet beloved Huzur to discuss certain issues about, education, about religion with beloved Huzur. So some of the things that beloved Huzur said were captured in this magazine, and that has also been used as the main topic, that is hoping for, world peace. So if you could be kind to us enough to shed some light, on that interview, that discourse that happened between beloved Huzur and that person.
This was an interview by an editor of the RE Today magazine, and he came to have a chat or to sit with Huzur to ask Huzur of his experience. And so Huzur tackled various topics when it comes to Islam and also education and let's say the social life. So among these topics was girls' education, and Huzur spoke about it and even gave or cited the example of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, her scholarly experience when it comes to Islam. And Huzur was emphasizing that we pay attention to girls' education even now in the society that we live in. And also when it comes to peace, Huzur spoke about the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Master of Peace, who was fighting so much so that peace peace and harmony will be something that will be indifferent in our societies that we live in. Also, regarding the faith, regarding whatever religion you worship, when it comes to freedom of faith, was something that the Holy Prophet ﷺ preached about, and this is something who's also mentioned as part of the qualities of Islam. And also, he was talking to the RE teachers that they should make sure that when it comes to the teachings of Islam, they should really give out the true teachings of Islam, not those ones which some people will get to hear of, and they will begin to say that Islam is a religion of terrorism and all that. And also Huzu explained to him the teachings of Islam, that Islam is about peace, Islam is about the fulfillment of social responsibilities and also devotion to God. And on this, Huzu advised we the Muslims that we should try our possible best, that we shouldn't only be saying these things, we should also try our possible best to put them in practice. And that is when people come to see the true or the truthfulness of Islam. And also on the environment, Huzu says we should care for each and every one. Every creation of Allah Almighty should be careful. Therefore, we should be we should have sympathy for the poor, for the weak, for the needy, and for any whatever Allah's creation it would be. We should have mercy on such a person. We also talked about the persecution Ahmadis are facing when it comes to religion. When we go to Pakistan and also even in Algeria and Palestine and all that. Uzur mentioned the persecution that Muslims or Ahmadis are going through. And Uzur told us to avoid wasting time, and we should know of our responsibility that we owe towards Allah the Almighty. And then lastly, Huzur recommended that the RE teachers, they should have key Islamic tests, so that when they are teaching their students, it wouldn't be something they've heard of, rather something which they've seen, they know the source which they are giving out. So this was a brief of the discourse that went on between the RE teacher and the beloved Khalifa.
Jazakumullah, Maulana Sahab. I mean, it is very, very interesting that the Khalifa is not only accessible to Ahmadi Muslims, but, you know, to the entire world. You know, teachers of that caliber having the chance to meet beloved Huzur, they get to listen to the pristine teachings of Islam, you know, firsthand. And Huzur actually encourages them to do all these things. And what's the interesting part of what you just said is that Huzur just said that we've done enough talking. It is now time for us to actually walk the talk. Jazakumullah Maulana Sahab for that wonderful, explanation of what beloved Huzur said. Well, back to rays of wisdom for the modern world. Very, very important segment, as I mentioned. Regarding history again, someone raised another question about Hazrat Harun and then Moses alayhi salatu wasalam, Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. The question is, how did Prophet Aaron alayhi salatu wasalam survive the Pharaoh's command for baby boys to be killed? You know, when Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was born, all these things were happening. So Huzu's answer?
Yeah, so on one hand, Huzu said, they being brothers now, people, it's verified that yes, they are brothers from the same mother and father. Now, people want to know if at the time of Moses alayhi salam, we all know the history behind how Moses alayhi salam was saved. So was that same to Aaron? Now, from the Bible again, in Exodus 7:7, we get to know that Hazrat Aaron alayhi salam was older than Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. In Exodus 7:7, when they went to meet Pharaoh, it is mentioned in the Bible that Moses alayhi salam was 83 years old. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron alayhi salam was 83 years old. This tells us that Aaron was 3 years older than Moses alayhi salam. Now, this brings us to the history that was it same at the time of Aaron alayhi salam? 3 years earlier than Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, was that order still there that the male children should be killed? That wasn't the case. From the history, we get to know that it was during the time of Moses alayhi salam rather. So before Moses alayhi salam, the male born children were not killed at that time. Now, in another in the history again, we get to see that during the time of Jacob alayhi salam and his son Joseph alayhi salam, when he migrated to Egypt, and then his brothers also came. Now the children of Israel, we get to know from history that yes, they had their descendants there, and then they became many. They were many there in Egypt. So at a point in time, the Pharaoh was afraid that these people, they are not free. They are our slaves. Now, if they are to get more men, or the boys are to be many amongst them, it will get to a time where they will overpower us. That was when the idea came that then the male children should be crucified. They should be killed. So that is one side of the issue. The other side too is that because these slaves were the same people they were using as workers, if they were to kill all the men, then at a point in time, they wouldn't have people to work for them. So another plan was that they kill the men this year, next year they leave them free. Then the next or the third year, they will kill them again. So it could happen that even if before Moses that rule was there, it is possible that during the time of Aaron was the free period where they allowed the male children to be alive. So this is what from the history we get to see when it comes to Aaron and Moses, and that is how we just suppose that yes, Aaron alayhi salam was saved from that killing, and Moses alayhi salam, we all know the history how he was saved.
I mean, the Khalifa of the time goes through all these researches from the biblical point of view. goes to history to check all these things, bring it to light for you and then all of us here. It is an amazing spectacle to hear the words of beloved Huzur. Mobisab, may Allah the Almighty richly bless you. A very interesting article was also featured in the September 2024 edition of the magazine that talks about the mosque, a house of God for worshippers of all faiths. Can you tell us what this article actually captured in the write-up?
So this was an inauguration of a mosque. The name of the mosque is Baitul Fazl, and this was in Lialpur. Now it is named as Faisalabad. And this happened on April 7th, 1934, during the time of the second Khalifa, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmed radiallahu anhu. So the second Khalifa in his speech emphasized on the significance of mosque, the importance of building mosque in our societies as a house of God opened to all worshippers. So he advised that this shouldn't lead to people claiming ownership to the mosque.
Right.
It should be for all. Everyone should be welcomed in the mosque because the mosque belongs to Allah Almighty alone. And he referenced it to the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, when a group of Christians from Najran came to visit the Holy Prophet Sallallahu, and they had a dialogue. After the dialogue, the Holy Prophet, when their time of prayers was due, the Holy Prophet ﷺ allowed them to pray in his masjid. So Huzur used this, he referenced this as the example, telling us that the mosque is an open place for everyone who wants to worship Allah the Almighty. And also, given that hospitality in the house of Allah the Almighty is something which is embedded in Islam. This is a pure Islamic teaching. And also, we all know as Ahmadi Muslims, whenever it's time for these kind of building of mosque and all that, there are a lot of sacrifices. People do sacrifice a lot. So Huzur also expressed, or he showed his gratitude to all those who contributed any amount, any quota to the building of the mosque. So Huzur, our beloved Huzur, as Khalifatul Masih II, radiallahu anhu, also encouraged that we pray for the guidance of such people, those who come into the mosque, who are not Muslims. We pray for their guidance as well. And he stressed that once the mosque is built, it should be filled. That is, we should come in and observe the congregational prayer. It shouldn't be that we build a mosque and no one comes in. Also, it must remain as a place of worship of all Allah the Almighty. It shouldn't be for anyone's personal gain. Once the mosque is built, it is built only for Allah the Almighty. So Huzur ultimately emphasized the speech mostly on maintaining the mosque, the spirituality, the sanctity of the mosque, and also ensuring that it is used for the purpose it was built for. This was in brief what Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, the second Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmed radiallahu anhu, explained to the people in that speech on the occasion where there was the inauguration of the mosque.
MashaAllah. Mawisa, may Allah the Almighty bless you for that wonderful explanation. I mean, something that all of us should take away. Mawisa, there was another address that was captured in the magazine, and this was an address that was delivered by His Holiness Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Al-Khamis. So if you can kindly shed some light, on that address for us as well.
Yeah, this was an address of the Work for Now UK Tema this year, 2024, where Huzur addressed a large gathering of the Waqifin. And in this address, Huzur told us, because the address is for all Ahmadi Muslims as well, Huzur told us that whatever they've learnt there, because in the itimas we have various speeches and all that, whatever they've learned, they should see it as valuable, and they should make sure they comply with the teachings that they've come to hear, or they've come to be aware of in that gathering. And also, the Waqifin should be said that they are morally upright, they are well educated. They should take their studies very, very serious, and make sure that they are able or ready to serve the Jamaat after or when they are very well mannered, very well cultured, very well educated. That is the time where they can serve the Jamaat and serve the Jamaat well. So they should live according to the true teachings of Islam. This will help them in doing that. His Holiness as well emphasized on the importance of reading the books of the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, reading the Holy Quran, reading the Hadith, telling us that the Islamic teachings should be core in every waqf or every waqif. It shouldn't be that we are devoid of these spiritual lessons that the Khalifa, the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, and his Khulafa have given us. And also, Huzur emphasize on this again about the importance of obedience to faith or obedience to the Jamaat. Huzur emphasized on that, and he told us that it is very, very essential for the unity and strength of the Jamaat, because without obedience, that unity wouldn't be there for this Jamaat to grow. And also, Huzur told us again on this same obedience that without obedience, when there is disobedience, there is downfall. So when we don't give the due obedience to those who deserve, it happens that the Jamaat or that community will have its downfall. So we should have proper or devoted, we should have devotion to the Imam of the age. Also, Huzur encouraged the Waqfin and all to also seek knowledge and to act on Allah's commands. There are a lot of commandments in the Holy Quran Allah Almighty has given us. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has told us about. Huzur says that as a Waqif, you have to make sure that you follow all these commandments. And also, Huzur reminded the youth that they should focus on righteousness, taqwa at all time. That taqwa is the key to success. So if anyone wants to soar higher in faith, in spirituality, taqwa is the key. We should keep ourselves pure. We should keep our speeches or our talks very clean. His Holiness also advised the Waqfini now that they should excel in their education. This is very, very much important. We shouldn't say we are only for the Jamaat. So we keep aloof from the worldly education or the social sciences that we are in. We should learn very well, get proper grades when it comes to our secular educations, and we should also learn, or we should stick to our religious and moral educations as well. So at the end, Huzur prayed for all the Waqfini now, and this is in brief what Huzur,
mashallah. A very detailed. I mean, but just there's also the summary of the whole address of His Holiness Movisab. May Allah the Almighty bless you, and we are very grateful to His Holiness for providing such guidance to us day in and day out. Movisab, we would have loved to touch at Tafsir Al-Kabir, but I've been told that we don't have that time to proceed with that. But in any case, if you can kindly brush through for us, His Holiness, the Promised Messiah ﷺ, talked about Miraj, the spiritual ascension of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, people believe that it happened, with the physical body of the Holy Prophet going to the skies and all that. The Prophet ﷺ cleared, that wrong notion. If you can kindly, just highlight it, what was briefly mentioned.
So the Prophet ﷺ rightly mentioned that when it comes to Miraj, it was a vision of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, though in wakefulness, not in sleep, in wakefulness, but it was a vision, and it was a body which was full of light. Not this physical body, but there was a body full of light, telling us that yes, it didn't happen physically as they say, but because he was awake, it's a sort of vision that the Holy Prophet ﷺ visualized, because he gives this as a reference that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, when these same idolaters were asking for a sign that he should ascend to the heavens, the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the Holy Quran was told to say that Kul Subhana Rabbi hal kuntu illa bashara rasula, that messenger of the Holy Prophet ﷺ was told to say that holy is my Lord, I am not but a messenger or a man sent as a messenger. So if the Holy Prophet ﷺ had this chance to bodily ascend to heaven, this was to be a proof, or this was to be a sign for even the disbelievers. But the Holy Prophet ﷺ was told that no, that is not the state of, that is not in the hands of a man. Rather it is in the hands of Allah the Almighty. This is telling us that yes, his ascension happened, but it wasn't physical, it was spiritual, with a body, but not this physical body, a body full of light.
Right, mashallah. Mawisa, may Allah the Almighty bless you for that wonderful explanation. I mean, a clarification by the Promised Messiah, which is very, very, very important for especially our non-Ahmadi Muslims who still believe that the Miraj happened physically with the Holy Prophet flying into the heavens. He says that the Quran says that ascending to the heavens with this physical body is not the work of man. We cannot go there with this physical body, but it was a spiritual ascension that actually happened, and we do not downplay the importance of such, happening. Jazakumullah Movisa. Well, viewers, this is where time would allow us to bring today's discussion of the review digest to an end. But before I leave you, I mention some of the things that weren't captured, in this 30 minutes program that we have. We left some important aspects of the magazines, topics like, excerpts from the books of the Promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, translated into English, which discusses revelations, inspiration, vision, and dreams. We also have places of worship, and a place of worship that was called Wat Frakal was discussed. We also have exploring the flawlessness of nature, water, nature's masterpiece. And also, the review of religion is not only limited to this edition that we have, but also we have some works that are done online on the review of religious online platforms. We have articles like what Islam says about food loss and wastage. We have another thing that was featured in the September in this month, that is called Suraka bin Malik, the bounty hunter, and the prophecy of the Persian bangles. All these such articles have been captured online for all our viewers who have subscribed to the Review of Religions magazine, and those who have not subscribed, you still have the opportunity to read some articles online, and these are topics that have already been mentioned. We also do numerous videos on the existence project, like the existence of God. We have people going around asking about the existence of God, and we try to prove to people that God still exists in this day and age. We have, audio articles coming out from the Review of Religions Ghana. The existence of God in the life of the fourth Caliph, Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmed, was also published in the last month. So, viewers, this is where time would allow us to bring today's edition of your favorite program to an end. Sorry, this article was published this month as well. This is where time would allow us to bring today's edition of the Review Digest to an end. We are very grateful to Morvi, Bashiruddin Mahmoud Saab. We are very grateful to you, our wonderful viewers out there. Thank you for having time to watch this wonderful program or to listen to it. Till we meet again, may the peace and blessings of Allah be on you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.